Welcome to this week's episode of The Savvy Author. I am your host and literary consultant, Clara Rose. If you've been with us before, welcome back, my friend. If this is your first time, I'd like to invite you to join us each week as we talk about all of the things that you need to know to be a savvy author. Lots of moving parts and pieces and lots for you to know and understand. And if you show up each week right here, we're going to talk about those things. Okay, today we're actually going to start a little bit differently than normal. We have a topic of the day today, but just by popular demand, popular request, I'm just going to run over something really quick with you, and that is the 3 phases of book creation. So, what are the 3 phases of book creation? First of all, the brainstorm and blueprint is phase 1. So this is where we analyze the book concept, because you truly want to be creating the right book, the right tool. If you follow me at all, you've heard me say this before, a book is just a tool. So we want to create the right tool from the get-go. So that absolutely starts with analyzing your book idea, looking into, the world out there of books and seeing who else has a book that has a similar topic or the same topic, and how are they positioning themselves? How are you going to be different? How are you going to stand out? If there's a bunch of other books out there, that doesn't mean you can't have the same topic. You just have to position yourself a little bit differently. Some of those things we can talk about more in depth in the future, but analyze is always your first step. Okay, and the next part of the first phase is the brainstorm. This is all about capturing those ideas that are going to go in your book. And you, of course, have heard me nag on this before, I'm sure. Brainstorming is where we just dump all of that stuff that you've stored in your brain or on your laptop, or one of my clients had a purse full of little sticky notes that she'd been collecting however long she'd been working on her book. And when she walked into my office, she dumped it out, and all these little sticky note thingies, note cards, napkins had fallen out. This is where she had captured her ideas. We want to take all of those ideas and get them in a format that we can do something with them. That's what we call brainstorming. And that's the second piece of your first phase. And finally, in the first phase, we have to blueprint or outline the structure of your book. In the industry, it's called a book build, where you pull all of the pieces together and you end up with an outline that you can use for writing purposes. Now, phase 1 is like the fundamental. If you don't get this piece right, you're going to struggle in a lot of ways with the next piece. All right, so what is phase 2 of the book creation process? Phase 2 is where we actually get the work done. We create and we refine. So writing, which is getting those words onto paper, nothing replaces getting those words onto paper. You have to sit down with your outline, your brainstorm and blueprint outline, and start writing in a scheduled, systematic way. If you're not writing, your book is never going to get done. And then, of course, as we're writing, editing. Everyone needs an editor. When I work with clients one-on-one or in a group setting, we edit as we go. Now, I see a lot of people out there who are writing their book, and then when it's completely written, they think, all right, now I'm ready for an editor. But I promise you, the smart way to do it is edit as you go. If you edit as you go, 2 things happen. One, when the book is written, it is already edited the first time through. So that's a beautiful thing. But 2, you become better as a writer. You will learn from the editing process as you work with your editor, and you're gonna learn, oh, I can't use the word that 20 times in a chapter, right? You're going to learn little things that are going to make a difference and hone your craft. You're going to become a better writer working closely with an editor. And then, of course, the final refinement stage of this second phase of book creation is format. This is where we get the book ready to publish. So this is making sure that it looks beautiful inside your book. Of course, the one that I always like to say to people is, make sure your text is justified. You probably can't see this in my latest book, but the edges of your text right here need to be justified. They need to be square. Otherwise, it looks funky. People will not maybe recognize why it looks funky, but it's super important that it feels right when they open the book. It needs to be formatted correctly so that people can look at your book and it feels like a professional book. I opened a book recently, and I just put it, it was a gift to me. I literally put it back down. All of the chapters started on the wrong side of the book. Chapters start on a right page, right? Open any book that you own. Chapters start on a right-hand page. All of these start on the left-hand. I'm like, what the heck? That's a formatting issue. Everyone needs help with their formatting. Okay, now what is phase 3? Of the creation process of your book. Phase 3 is publish and launch. So publish, that's really about understanding what your publishing options are. And of course, there are a bunch of options for you. You could self-publish, you could try to find a traditional publisher, you could hybrid publish. So there's different ways you could go about getting your message out to the world, and educating people about those options is one of the things that I love to do. Understanding what's best for you, not necessarily the person that you're hiring to work with you. We can talk more about that later. Okay, and then the next piece of that phase is launch. We need to get the word out so that people know your book's coming, right? We want to talk about it before it comes so that people are on board and excited when it actually does launch, and you're going to make sales. The more people are talking about your book, the more buzz is happening, the more books that you're going to sell. And then finally, in this final stage of your book launch, your book publishing, or your book creation, is selling, having an ongoing plan for sales. I talked recently with a client about the difference between selling them yourself, like setting up your own web page, ordering your books and putting them in the garage, and then as you make sales, sending them out individually. That's shipping and labeling, and how involved you want to be with that process. Now, you can make a little bit more money if you're buying them at cost and you're doing your own selling and you're doing your own shipping, but what is your time worth? Would you rather have somebody else manage that piece so that you can go on and write your next book, or you could go on, which we're going to talk about today, by the way, or you can go on and work in your business, ministry, cause, or brand. Okay, so those are the 3 phases. I'm not sure why so many people are asking about that, but I just wanted you to know the 3 phases. We're going to brainstorm and blueprint, we're going to create and refine, and then finally we're going to publish and launch. Whoever helps you, those are the stages that they should be taking you through as you work on your book. Okay, so today we're actually going to talk about a different topic, but I wanted to just put that out there. If you have any more questions, feel free to shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer. You can send it to hello@clararose.com. I'm happy to answer any more questions. Okay, let's jump into today. Today we're going to talk about having a single book that you publish versus a series. So there's some questions we're going to ask to determine whether a single book or a series makes more sense for us. The very first question, of course, is does the amount of content that is going to go into your book warrant a series instead of a single book? So this is something you're going to discover during the brainstorm and blueprint process, right? As we brainstorm our content, we're going to see how many chapters or how much content is going to end up in our book. So if you have 30 chapters of potential content that you think needs to go into this book, you need to ask yourself, is this something that I can create a series out of? Can I separate all of this content into 3 books or 2 books or 5 books? Do I have way more to say than is going to fit in an average standard? This is an average standard size book. I think we came out at 215 in the pages. little over 30,000 words, very standard sized book. When you get books that are bigger than this, not as many people are going to read them, right? The fatter, chunkier, especially if it's not fiction, right? If we're not entertaining people, but we're educating people, which this is an educational book, 8 Ways to Mind Your Own Business. It's for new entrepreneurs. This could be very overwhelming if this book had 400 pages in. This was a 50 or 60,000 words. Fewer people are going to buy this. So fewer people are going to benefit from the knowledge that we give them in this book. So the same thing is true for yours. If your book is teaching them something where there's tons of content, ask yourself, can I separate this out? Is it warranted to create a 2-book, 3-book, 5-book, a series? If it does, you want to plan that from the get-go. We're going to talk about some of the pros and cons of having a single book versus having a series, but that is question 1. Does the amount of content you want to put out into the world, does it warrant a series or not? Okay, let's move on. So the next question that you want to ask yourself is, are you building a brand around the book? Or is your book simply a tool that's going to generate leads and open doors for you? So remember I said in the beginning that a book is a tool, right? We're creating a tool that you're going to use for something, right? Sometimes the tool is leaving a legacy, and I understand that. But because most of my authors fall in the category, nonfiction definitely is my specialty, but brand awareness books is where most of my clients reside. It's a tool that they're going to use to bring awareness to their brand, right? Hence the name, Brand Awareness Book. It's about bringing awareness to their brand. It's intended to educate potential clients for them, for their business, ministry, cause, or brand, potential customers. It's intended to do something specific. So we're going to go about things differently if we're building a single book that is just to bring brand awareness, or if we're building a series of books that might be educating them more deeply. So maybe a brand awareness book is book 1, and then a secondary book, which not really a series if there's just 2, but a secondary book that is a deeper dive into the same content. So all of this needs to be decided right up front, and you can see how important that brainstorm and blueprint, that initial brainstorm and blueprint is, because decisions are made at that level before you start writing. Now, I've had a few people come to me over the years who have already written their book, and it's 70 or 80,000 words. This is a big book, and there's a lot of content in it, and they've already written it. So we have to really literally sit down and deconstruct the book, pull it apart, look at what all of the content is, and sometimes those massive books end up being 2 books or 3 books. It becomes a series because of the depth of knowledge that they're trying to give in a single book. So all stuff that you'll want to talk with your literary consultant about in the very beginning stages of the creation. It's so much easier than deconstructing after the fact. But if you've already done it, get somebody on your team to help you with that process. Okay, what is the next thing you should consider when you're trying to decide if it's going to be a single book or if it's going to be a series? The next question is, do you have several book ideas within a core theme, a common core or theme? So here is a really good example for you. I have a book series. It's the Everything Matters series, and it's a common theme. Everything matters, right? But it talks about, each book talks about a different thing, a different topic, but it's still within the same core idea of everything matters. So I talk about publishing matters, right? That's in a different book than I talk about passion matters. It's a different book that talks about accountability matters, but they all fall within the same idea or theme, if you will, that everything matters. So that's an obvious book series. Those things wouldn't make sense together in a single book, and it would be a massive book because I'm wordy and I have a lot to say. There's lots to say about accountability. There's lots to say about publishing. There's lots to say about the different books, topics that are in my series. It could never fit and make sense in one book. So it's a series. So that's something you just have to ask yourself. Do I have several book ideas, but they share a common theme or a core? Then they become a series. If they don't have a connecting theme or core that you can come up with, because that can help, if they truly are separate topics and they don't fit, then they don't go in a series. This book, I refer to it a lot because it's just my last book. When my next book comes out, I'll refer to that one a lot. This one, 8 Ways to Mind Your Own Business, Strategy and Mindset for the New Entrepreneur, is in no way connected to my primary business, which is helping people create brand awareness books for their business, ministry, cause, or brand, right? But because I did business development consulting for like many years, 20 years, well, probably more than 20 years, this was near and dear to my heart. I did this project with a friend, a colleague. She's in the UK, Debbie Clement Large. Brilliant mindset work that she does. So we wrote this book together, and I don't really incorporate this into my everyday business unless I have a client who is brand new, just building their first business, and needs some help in that department. Then I bring in this book. But because it's not so connected to my other work and what I normally do, this is not part of the Everything Matters series. So you see the difference between there being a core theme that connects them and not. This one isn't connected. Doesn't mean I don't sell it, and doesn't mean I don't use it. It's just not connected in the same way that my other books are connected. Okay, let's move on. Last question I want you to consider today as we're talking about this. Does it make sense to ride the wave of the book sales from one book to the next? So what you intend to do with your book really does matter. There's that word, it matters. So ask yourself, does it make sense for me to try and make my books ride the wave of each other? Now, what do I mean by ride the wave? When your book first comes out, we experienced this last month when I had an author who made bestseller, like day 2, right, of the book launch, made bestseller. There was a huge wave of sales, right? So he did the launch, and then there was just this huge amount of people, that's the wave, ordering her book. And then day 2, day 3, day 4, she hit another bestseller, best new book, and then the wave slows. Fewer people are, now hers hasn't really dropped off all that much, but a little bit, and that's very natural. That's riding the wave. So if you can plan a series where your one book comes out, you're talking about it, you're excited about it, you're doing your social media, you're doing your press releases, all the things that I teach you how to do when your book is coming out, planning, coming up on the wave, making the wave happen, and then as you launch, you hit your peak sales, and things start to, on the other side, just naturally, sales lessen, you talk about it less, especially if you haven't planned well for ongoing marketing, you really can have a decline at the backside. So if you can plan it so that your book series, your next book, can, before you like totally drop off, you start talking about your next book, there's a thing that happens when my newest book coming out is X. And they're like, ooh, there's this new book coming out. Someone who bought your previous book might say, oh, I loved that book. I think they don't even have to think twice about getting that next book if they loved your first book, right? Now all of a sudden there's already momentum, right? The wave is already up here when the next book launches, right? So you're literally riding the wave from book to book. If you know in advance that you have 3, 4, 5 books in a series, even 2, it can be beneficial to ride the wave of each other. Now, sometimes that means you're getting the first book done and not launching right away because you want to get the second book done before you launch the first book. You got to be closer so you can catch that wave. So that's just something you have to ask yourself. If there's multiple books that are going to happen, maybe it makes sense to go from one to the next. Okay, let's review those really quick. Let's talk about all of those things just really briefly. Single versus series. Does the amount of content warrant a series instead of a single book? Absolutely question one. Got to have enough content or it just doesn't make sense. Are you building a brand around your book? Or is it simply going to be a tool that generates leads and opens doors? Is it just going to be a one book to do one thing, or is it going to be a deeper education for your client base? And then, do you have several book ideas that have a common core or theme? Do you have way more to say than is going to comfortably and in a way that makes sense fit into a single book? And then, does it make sense to ride the wave of the book sales from one book to the next? What you intend to do with your book really does matter. Planning it from the get-go makes a huge difference. Huge difference. Okay, I know that you're going to have questions about some of these things. Please feel free to reach out to me if you're interested in learning more about a single book versus a series of books. And of course, be sure and go back and watch previous episodes where I talk about some of these things in depth as well. Okay, so now that we've talked about that, we just want to talk about you. Let's talk about you and what you need to get your book out to the world, to get your message crafted and out into the world to make a difference for your potential audience. Okay, do you need some guidance? The Savvy Author Mentoring Program might be for you. Right now, it's closed, but you can hop on the waiting list for notifications when the doors open again in the fall. If you're interested in being on that waiting list, hop over to clararose.com/waitlist. Sign up. I'm not going to spam you, I promise. That will just get you on the wait list so that when the doors are getting ready to open in the fall, you will be the first to know about it. Because I have to cap the number of people who are in the program at any given time, because it's truly a mentoring program where you get access to me, you get access to my assistant, you get access to people to help you one-on-one. I can't take hundreds of people at a time. So I have to open and close the mentoring program doors, and if you really want in, you're going to want to know before the rest of the world knows so you can grab a spot. The program lasts all year. It's your opportunity to get your project done with some one-on-one assistance. So I'm just going to really quickly tell you what it is that you'll get when you're in the mentoring program with us. Our members get these things. We get step one, which is the brainstorming blueprint. And you know that that is the most important starting point to getting your book created. Step two is we're going to work on writing and accountability. As you write and get the work actually done, you're going to have someone right there holding your feet to the fire and making you accountable to get the writing done. This is the number one thing that people struggle with as they try to create their book, is actually putting their hiney's in the seat and getting the writing done. Someone to say, hey, have you written your 500 words today, or 1,000 words, or whatever it is that you've said that you're going to do. Then step three, we're going to work on editing and formatting. So I'm going to teach you all of the things you need to know about editing yourself and formatting yourself, and how to work with editors and formatters to get the most bang for your buck. Of course, we do, and our company offers some of those services as well. There's many of those things you can do for yourself, and this mentoring program is the place that you're going to learn those things. Then if you're interested in other services, we're happy to talk with you about those. But the basics are going to be there, so you don't have to hire somebody right up front. Okay, and then step four, we're going to talk about publishing and launching your book. Everything that you need to know about publishing, teach you all about all of your publishing options, all of the fine details, all of your questions answered, and then how to plan accordingly for a launch that's truly going to be effective and have your book selling. And then finally, promoting and selling. How to promote your book and how to sell your book. It's another one of the things that people really struggle with when they become an author or when they're trying to become an author. I don't know how to promote this thing. I don't know how I'm going to sell this thing. We'll go over all of the fine details that you need to know and help you make some of those decisions. Am I going to hire a PR company? Am I going to write my own press releases? How do I know how to write a press release? Should I hire someone to hire? Where do I send a press release? All of those pieces we're going to talk about in the mentoring program. So you are welcome to become a part of that when it opens again in the fall. Let me give you just a little bit more detail before I ran out of time completely today about the mentoring program. So the Savvy Author Mentoring Program is the first of its kind to give you the full blueprint for creating a successful book, plus the education and the accountability to get it done. That is why it works. You have a seasoned literary consultant and editor who guides you every step of the way. So there's no more wondering where to start or writing yourself into a corner or having a half-finished manuscript in your desk or on your computer that you have no idea what to do with or how to finish. So we're going to teach you everything you need to know about the front matter. That's everything that comes in the front of your book, the core content, which we create, which is your book, and the back matter, which is everything in your book that comes beyond the core content of your book. We're going to help you build a solid structure of those things and teach you how to use them. So our brainstorm process helps you pull your thoughts and ideas together into a plan for your manuscript. This is important for a cohesive message, of course, in your book that readers are going to want to read and will enjoy. And we talked about that earlier as being the foundational piece to getting a good book done. And then we blueprint, of course, becoming the outline and table of contents for your book, which is just a step-by-step roadmap. It's for successfully writing your book. All you do is follow the blueprint and do the writing. Do the work, my friend. Together, we're going to do the work. We're going to educate you about your publishing options, guide you through the editing, formatting, and publishing. And then you're going to learn about launching your book and setting it up to make sales or setting someone else up to make your sales. And then your accountability is built right into the process. Our writers group work together to encourage each other and get the writing done, right? Encourage each other as we move forward. And the collaborations that come out of it are really just amazing. No matter where you are in your journey, the Savvy Author Mentoring Program can help you plan, write, publish, and launch your book. So there really is no need to do this alone. If you have already created a manuscript and you're thinking, is this for me? Do I need to join the mentoring program? Yes, absolutely, because we're going to help you deconstruct what you've done to make sure that your foundation is solid, and then the education process is still there. It can even help you decide if this one book is going to become more than one book. Maybe you need someone to just give you some feedback on what you have going. Maybe you need the collaboration. Maybe you just need the publishing piece. We are here for you. We are out of time, my friends, but once again, I thank you for joining me for the Savvy Author Show, and I encourage you to come back next week, same time, same place, to learn more about being a savvy author. Thanks for joining me.